Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Greetings to our together. Today, we are from sixth group. We will present presentation about language variation. Myself as moderator Iman Rianduru, and my friends Yuliana and Citra Melani. The first, explain material by Yuliana. To Yuliana, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Next slide, please. Okay, definition of language variation. Definition of language variation. Language variation are variants or parts of a language that have patterns resembling that language of its introduction. Language variation itself is caused by the existence of distinct social interaction with non-homogeneous speech. In a sociolinguistic view, language, language, language is not only seen as an individual phenomenon, but is a social phenomenon. As a social phenomenon, language and its use are not only determined by linguistic factors, but also by non-linguistic factors. Okay? Back to moderator.
Okay. I want to explain causes of language variation. The causes of language variation are as follows. First, there are many vowels. First, interference chair. It mean provides a limitation that interference is the inclusion of elements of another language into the language being used. So that there appears to be a deviation from the rules of the language used. Regional language become the main proportion in official communication. So that the love for the national language is the freed by regional language. Secondly, integration. It means states the integration is elements from other language that are brought in and are considered need and used as part of the language that receiver or enters them. This integration process certainly requires quite a long time because the integrated elements have been adjusted both in pronunciation, spelling, and grammar. Example of integrated words such as mechanic and driver and jack. Third, code switching and code mixing. It means that the code switching is the switching for one code or whether a particular language or variety of language into another code, another language. Code mixing is when two or more codes are used together without reason and usually occurs in casual situations. The last, modern language. It's been modern language is a branch of language used for social interaction. This term began to appear in the late 1980. And then at the time, slang was known as the language of street children. Until now, there are so many modern or slang language used by young people. And next explained by Citra Milani. To Citra Milani, time is yours.
Okay, next is about types of language variation, chairs, and Augustina. Reveal that there are several types of language variation, is including number one, idealic language variation. Idealic language variation are individual language variation. According to the concept of idealic, everyone has their own variation of language or idealic. Uh, this idealic relate to the color of voice, choice of diction, style of language, sentence structure, expression, and even due to abnormalities in spiritual condition and intellectual abilities. Number two, dialect language variations. Dialect language variation are language variation from a group of speakers whose numbers relatively locate in a certain place, region, or area. For example, the Javanese dialect of Banyumas, Pekalongan, Surabaya, Banyuwangi, and so on. Third, chronolic language variation or temporal dialect. Chronolic language variation or temporal dialect language variation used by a social group at a certain time. For example, variation of Indonesian in the 30s, variation of language in the 50s, and variation of language today. Number four, sociolic language variation. Sociolic language variation are language variation related to the status, class, and social class of the speakers. This language variation involve all the personal problems of the speakers, such as age, education, gender, occupation, level of nobility, socio-economic condition, and so on. Okay, back to moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Citra Milani. Okay, thank you everyone to the participant and your time. And I think that's all. Thanks for attention. See you. Good morning.